Good Thursday morning. I'm WBTV First Alert Meteorologist Eric Garlick. We are going to be talking about Hurricane Hugo quite a bit over the next couple of days. Of course, with the 35th anniversary of that happening on Sunday, we're going to keep you up to date and prepared and talk about a lot of things related to Hugo as we go through the next couple of days. But really wanted to start with breaking down the track of Hurricane Hugo, where it went, how it developed, and what exactly happened as it pushed across the area. So let's take a look at the path of Hurricane Hugo. So it developed a couple weeks shy of 35 years ago Sunday. It continued to develop out across the Lesser Antilles, moved over the Dominican Republic, and then eventually up into the Atlantic before turning and making landfall south of right around the Charleston area. It made impact in Sullivan's Island at midnight as a Category 4 storm. Between around 2 a.m. between Charleston and Sumter, it made landfall. It had sustained winds of about 100 miles per hour, and then in just three short hours, this was crossing over the I-77 corridor between Columbia and Charlotte. And as it did so, it had winds upwards of 99 miles per hour. The impacts from this were felt very widespread across the Charlotte area. It had pressure at 978 millibars. The highest wind gust recorded was 99 miles per hour, and it dumped anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain. 90% of the homes were without power, and this storm was moving very quickly at about 20 to 30 miles per hour. And that's part of the reason why this storm was able to move from the coast into the I-77 corridor and maintain its strength as a hurricane, as it did a lot of damage. And this is going to be something that people will continue to remember as it moved across the area. So we're going to go to meteorologist Rachel Coulter, and she's going to explain a little bit of the different technology that we had 35 years ago and what we're dealing with now comparatively. Rachel?
There's so many things that have changed over time. I went back and looked at some of the old imagery, and I wanted to show you guys this. What I'm going to show you here, if we could take this full screen, let me make sure it actually stays up on the screen. There we go. Okay, so on the left side of your screen, that's infrared satellite. Depends on temperatures, and it's just really fuzzy. You're not going to get a lot of loops. You know, we can get down to the minute in terms of new data coming in from satellite imagery. Just didn't have that back in the 80s, right? And then on the right side, you had radar. So right now, we use WSR 88D. When this storm was moving through, they were still depending on WSR 57 and 74. And what you see on your screen, that's WSR 57. It couldn't even look at velocity, which shows you the wind speeds. There's so many differences between what we have now. So I'm showing you satellite differences, radar differences, so actually tracking the system, but then forecasting the system. The models that they had access to at that point, completely different. Even saw a write-up from our own previous chief meteorologist, Eric Thomas, and the data that he had to have and the surface analysis maps that were utilized at that time, and then just how far we've come with the technology for now. We're able to monitor these things so much more closely now, not only ahead of time, but during the storm as well.
All right, thanks for that, Rachel. And just wanted to show you the path and track of Hurricane Hugo one more time as it moved across the area. So this was a pretty fast-moving system as it continued to develop out across the Atlantic, and again, moving through the Lesser Antilles, and then eventually up through the Dominican Republic area, back out into the Atlantic, strengthening. This continued to move toward the Carolinas, making landfall in Sullivan's Island as a Category 4 hurricane right around midnight, and then continued up toward Charleston and Sumter around 2 a.m. with winds of about 100 miles per hour. And then 3 hours later, it was in Charlotte with those winds of about 99 miles per hour. So this storm was moving very quickly, and again, did have quite a bit of a punch with it as it rolled through the area. 99 miles per hour with that highest wind gust recorded. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what we got going on right now. Of course, we are in September. We're past the official peak of hurricane season, which is September 10th, but you can kind of see how this is skewed. more develop after September than before September. So even though we're past peak of hurricane season, this is still something that we're keeping a very close eye on as we go through the next really month and a half before we head into November. But still, even in November, hurricanes can develop and they can be very strong in nature. So if you're joining me on Facebook, leave a comment. Let me know what you remember from Hugo, if you were in the area, and some of those memories. Over the next couple of days, we're going to continue to talk about Hurricane Hugo, the impacts it had on the Carolinas, and of course, we'll have a lot of that information coming on Sunday as that storm approaches that 35th anniversary. Of course, Sunday, 35 years ago, that's when Hugo moved through the area. So let's talk about the tropics right now. We'll take this full. Things pretty quiet over the Carolinas and in most of our immediate area, but let's take a wide look. This is the latest information coming from the National Hurricane Center. The area east and north of the Yucatan. This is going to have a medium chance of development, so 40 to 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. Now, this is going to be something that we're going to watch very closely as we head through the next 5 to 7 days, as this storm could develop and move into the Gulf and then approach somewhere along the Gulf Coast if it does continue to develop and does become the next named storm. So this is going to be something that the WBTV First Alert Weather Team is going to be watching very closely as we head into the weekend and then, of course, into next week as well. 2 other areas of development out into the Mid-Atlantic, but even if that does develop into anything, really not expecting that to impact the U.S. or even Bermuda as we go through the next couple of days as well. Chastity says she remembers Hugo and being without power for weeks. Yeah, as I mentioned, nearly 90% of the homes reported not having power in the area. So a very impactful storm. Had trouble getting gas, had to pay stuff with cash at grocery stores and such because there was no power. Yeah. Crazy times as Hugo moved through the area. But let's take a look at the next 2 weeks. Tropical overview showing that area east of the Yucatan with a 40 to 60% chance of development. So this is put out by the Weather Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center as kind of a 2 to 3 week outlook, and then we'll show you the 3 to 4 week outlook. This is updated every Wednesday, so this is new as of yesterday, and it runs from September 25th till October 1st, which was put us in that 5 to 7 day time frame for that system developing off the Yucatan and then out into the Mid-Atlantic, 20 to 40% chance to development as its highest. Next, we're going to look at the 3 to 4 week development. So still looking at the possibility for some development out across the Mid-Atlantic where we typically see these storms forming this time of year. So again, just because we're past the official peak, which is September 10th, doesn't mean we're done with hurricane season yet. Still expecting things to be pretty active as we go through the end of September and into October. And of course, we'll keep you updated on that. Let's talk about our forecast for today. We'll have more sunshine than yesterday. Dealing with a little bit of fog and some drizzle this morning. Low cloud cover more than fog because visibility at the surface okay. But we're going to be warmer than yesterday, and I think we're going to have more sunshine than yesterday as well. So we're going to be dealing with that as well. Futurecast showing a few showers and thunderstorms still possible as we go through the day today. Taking a look out across the high country, you can see some of those being a little bit more pronounced as we go through the afternoon. So here's Thursday. A few of those showers, high country, a little bit more active, but a few of those showers could linger into the Piedmont as we go through the evening and into the overnight period on Friday morning and then through the day on Friday. Still can't rule out an isolated shower. I think the model's overdoing Friday a little bit, but we'll be watching that closely. And then the weekend shaping up to be pretty nice. Rain chances for today, we'll call it about a 20% chance. Really not expecting much to change until we get into the afternoon and we start to see more sunshine in the coverage of that spotty shower activity and drizzle moving through the area. So that is what we're going to see today, and then those rain chances really dropping off as we head into the weekend. The weekend looking pretty nice. I'm just going through some comments. Amelia says, we used cash. Debit cards didn't exist in 1989. Hey, I'm just repeating what people remember, Amelia. Sheila says she remembers Hugo. We couldn't go anywhere because roads were blocked with trees. Didn't realize it had been 35 years. Yeah, 35 years since Hugo made landfall in the Carolinas. So we'll again be talking about this quite a bit over the next couple of days. Tune into WBTV News this morning, tomorrow morning, and we'll have some look backs at covering it. Former Chief Meteorologist Eric Thomas talking about Hugo and the impacts it had when he was here, and we'll have a couple other firsthand accounts and such. So if you want to stay up to date with all things Hugo, make sure you keep it right here with WBTV, and of course we'll be talking about it on our Facebook Live tomorrow morning with some of that information from the former Chief Meteorologist Eric Thomas and Chief Meteorologist Al Conklin as the weekend goes on. So we'll leave you with the 7-day. Appreciate you joining us for this edition of the First Alert. Hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe and enjoy the nice weather as we head into the weekend. Thanks for joining.